Hey everybody, it's Tony George along with my buddy Griffin Murphy from DocSports.com. Welcome back to Doc's Gridiron 6-pack. Jump on the gravy train, choo-choo! Going at off another winning week last week, almost 68% against the spread on the year on the show for free. That is just unheard of nowadays. And of course, we're giving you about a 60-game sample size so far. So hopefully you're tempted to click on the free $60. Take us up on some premium plays over the weekend, as well as not only Griff and I, but 10 other handicappers. Got a consensus service over there. A ton of free information, especially a lot of good information on college basketball, which is really starting to roll now, Griff. Some of these tournaments over the weekend.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, college basketball has most definitely picked up steam. I will say, though, Tony, I don't know how big you've been in NBA. We're lighting it up right now. I'm currently 10-2 in NBA, absolutely on fire. But I'm looking forward to getting into this show right now. I mean, we've got a lot of big games, exciting games, to say the least. So, yeah, Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely some NBA. I'm picking and choosing my spots. I'm only putting about 3 picks a week out there. And
Sure.
we'll tell you what's going on with the football cards this upcoming weekend, but let's get right to it. No doubt one of the biggest games, if not the biggest game of the weekend. Tell you what, we set them up, we knock them down for you. We give you the marquee games, baby. And one of them here, Washington, sitting at 10-0, headed up to Corvallis to take on the Ducks. This game has national title implications. It has Pac-12 implications. It has BCS Final Four implications. This is going to be one well of a ball game. Washington still sitting outside of that top 4 behind Florida State. Although Washington's kind of played a murderer's row of a schedule here. Got through Oregon, getting through the SEC, or not the SEC, the Pac-12 schedule, and of course Oregon State, 2.5-point favorite here. I'm thinking, Griff, that odds makers probably are giving them 2.5 or 3 points for a home field, because it's definitely worth it up in Corvallis. I've been to a game up there, Oregon State-Oregon game, actually, the Civil War, and it definitely is worth 2 or 3 points here. So they're calling this a pick 'em ball game. Is that disrespecting Washington and Michael Penix and his band of merry men? Or is this giving the 2 lost Ducks their due? Because they also got a quarterback and a team of their own.
Right. Yeah, Tony, this game is one of those really weird games. I mean, you've got undefeated, ranked number 5 Washington rolling into this game, and then you've got Oregon State, who is currently 8-2. Right now for this Washington team, I mean, you cannot forget it. You have to note it. Michael Penix, Heisman runner-up. I mean, this guy is most definitely a candidate. He's already thrown for 28 touchdowns this season and over 3,500 yards in the air. They have the number 1 passing team in all of football. And when you want to talk about them and their schedule and being put to the test, this team has done it all. They've beaten the Oregon. They've beaten the Washington States. They've beaten the Utah, the UCLA. I mean, they've been put to the test every single game thus far. And they're 10-0, and they've prevailed. They've played very well. Last week, dating back, did they allow 28 points against Utah? And we know Utah can't score points. They did. But what did they do going second half? They dialed into the level they needed to dial into, and they shut them down the entire second half. It seems that this Washington team kind of likes to caliber themselves to the teams that they're playing, and they kind of balance and equalize themselves in those games. Now, I'm not taking anything from this Washington team. They're 10-0. They're undefeated. They're playing phenomenal football. But like you said, Tony, you're rolling into Corvallis. That is never easy to play. Whether you're playing college basketball or college football, you are going to be in for it with those fans. Right now, Oregon is 8-2. Their 2 losses are against 2 very weird teams, Arizona and Washington State. Washington State, they dropped to them, I want to say it was week 4 or 5, and that was when Washington State was on that high horse offensively. That was when Cam Ward really lighting it up. Before we really established that their defense was atrocious, that was something to keep in mind. Now, Arizona is another team. They're kind of wishy-washy. They're all over the map. They either come out performing defensively. They have the top 20 defensive rush attack in all of football, which is something to keep in mind. Or they thrive offensively. They just barely squeaked away a win against Colorado last week. Here's the thing, though, when I look at this game for Oregon State. They're currently 5-0 at home, undefeated. They have won every single contest at home in Corvallis by at least 12 points, leaving them at 5-0. In their last 4 weeks, defensively, they haven't given up more than 24 points. Now you have the number one ranked passing team with Michael Penix in Washington coming in undefeated 10-0. So how do you go against a 10-0 team and a 5-0 team at home? Well, you don't. You funnel it out. So what I look at is the over-under in this game. They've got it priced out at 63.5. Do I think this game is going to, considering the fact that Oregon State in their last 4 weeks has allowed 24 points or less, and then at home, they've won every game by at least 12 points. Give me the under, 63.5. That's my play. Rolling into our next matchup, Tony, we've got UNLV at Air Force. Air Force is currently laying 3.5 points in this matchup. Total 47.5. This game will be kicking off at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can tune into this game on CBS Sports Network. These two teams squared off last season, and Air Force blew them out 42-7. But for Air Force in this matchup, QB Zach Larrier is questionable and might not be playing in this matchup. And then you go over to UNLV. They're 9-1 against the spread this season, and they're 7-2 in the division. Tony, how does Air Force deal with this UNLV team who's kind of came out of nowhere, and now they're offspringing? They look phenomenal. Tony, what's your take?
Well, this might be one of the best coaching hires no one's talking about in college football with Barry Odom. For UNLV. Now, I'm very familiar with Barry Odom. I'm a Big 12 guy. He played for Missouri. Then he coached Missouri. Then he went down to the Southwest Missouri State after they fired him. He was the defensive coordinator under Gary Pinkel at Missouri. Then they promoted him up. And Missouri's very happy with the coach they have right now. Don't get me wrong. The way Mizzou is playing. Mizzou's in the hunt for an SEC title match. I mean, so they're not bitching that Barry Odom's gone with the guy from App State in there, Dinwiddie or whatever his name is. But at the end of the day, Barry Odom's a good football coach. And he has brought enthusiasm, discipline, and a physicality, that UNLV was lacking. You mentioned they're 8-2 straight up. 9-1 against the spread this year. That's unbelievable. Now let's take a look at, we always talk about season-long stats versus recent form. Last two games, UNLV scored 90 points. Air Force has scored 16. Need I say more? And I tell you what, Air Force is a different animal without Larrier at quarterback, and he's 50-50. If he does play, he's not going to be 100%. They have nothing in the tank without him starting at quarterback. Now, if it comes out that he is for sure not going to play, remember, we're taping this on Wednesday. You guys get on this because UNLV is a damn good foot. They shouldn't have lost that game to Fresno State. By the way, Fresno State got waxed last week against San Jose. There's two teams right now that are playing in top form in the Mountain West Conference, and you and I talked about this. We talked about it when you were down in Phoenix. I love me some Mountain West in football. I love me some Mountain West in basketball, and I follow them. But the two teams that are playing as good as anybody right now in the Mountain West is San Jose State and, of course, UNLV. I'll lay the 3.5 against Air Force. I don't care if Larrier plays or not. I think UNLV is just a good team. And by the way, I'm not kicking the fly boys in the balls here. They got a really good head coach there. But the one thing about them, they just lack some depth. And I think especially at the quarterback position. And, you know, Maui, Maui here for UNLV, 65%, 2,000 yards on the season, 11 touchdown passes, only 4 picks. Those are pedestrian numbers for the quarterback, but UNLV runs the football and plays good defense. The old school Big 12, Big 8 style stuff that Odom grew up with, implementing it there. Let's switch gears to the ACC. Tell you what, North Carolina at Clemson, I gave you this one. Clemson, I was surprised at this number. At Clemson laying 6.5. Total here is 58.5. Now, Mac Brown has done what Mac Brown does every year. I don't give a rat's ass where he's coaching. He did it at Texas. He did it at North Carolina before he went to Texas. And then when he came back to North Carolina, he did it again. He is the Rick Barnes, who's the head coach of Tennessee. He is the Rick Barnes of college football. He loses games out of nowhere to nobody for no reason. And then shows up and sometimes chokes in big games as well. 2 losses to Georgia Tech and Virginia. When you got Drake May at quarterback, that is inexcusable. You should not be losing to Virginia and Georgia Tech. Although Georgia Tech, I'll give them some credit. They're playing a lot better football this year than anybody thought they would. They'll probably give Syracuse a hell of a butt whipping this weekend. As a matter of fact, hashtag bonus play. But at the end of the day here, Clemson at home. I tell you what, when you got May, Walker, Nesbitt, Jones trio, wide receiver here, I'm trying to figure out why Clemson, who I'm not overly impressed with still, is laying 6.5 here, Griff. And, of course, the total approaching 60 here. And who's capable of scoring more points here, I guess, is the next question. I got to stick to you.
Yeah, Tony. See, this one really, going into week 8 or into week 9, this North Carolina team 8-0 on the season. And you know what? I had them as one of my top 10 ranking teams in the entire nation. And I absolutely believe that behind the helm of Drake May. This kid was one of my Heisman candidates, top 5 easily going into that, until they lost that out of nowhere matchup to Virginia. I don't know where that came from, what happened, but it was detrimental to this team's season. It absolutely killed them. Drake May has already passed for 3,100 yards this season. I want to say he has 21 touchdowns. They're 11th in the country right now in passing yards. The problem is for this North Carolina team is their defense. Their defense is giving up points to teams that we're not talking about the Oregons. We're not talking about the Penn States, the Michigans, these top tier teams. We're talking about the Georgia Techs. We're talking about middle tier teams that are putting up 45 points against them. That is unacceptable, especially as a ranked team, and especially with the implications that they have right now. They're 8-2, and they're fighting for a spot. Right now, the way that this defense is playing, it's atrocious. They're giving up too many points. And now you have to go into Clemson, deal with Dabo Swinney. Yes, Clemson is 6-4 on the season. Excuse me. They are 6-4 on the season. Dabo Swinney, in my eyes, probably one of the best college football coaches in the country. I'm not going to get into it. Yes, there's Saban in the picture. We can get into that mix. But the guy's already got himself 2 national championship rings. This Clemson team, in my eyes, Tony, and we can disagree or agree on this, I don't think they're a 6-4 team. I think they're much better than that. I think where they really went down in the season was in their season opener when they lost to Duke. As soon as they lost to Duke, the entire season kind of started to tremble for them. They haven't had the toughest schedule in the season this far. They've lost or they've dealt with teams like Miami. But the one thing for Clemson right now is they're 5-1 at home. Their only loss at home is against the number 4 ranked Florida State, where they only lost that game by a touchdown. Clemson is a very good team in my eyes, and I think it is going to be very hard for this North Carolina team defensively when they're allowing 45 points against teams like Georgia Tech. How are they going to come into Clemson and expect to win this game? My play coming at this game, Tony, I think Clemson's a better team. And last year, these 2 teams went at it in the 2022 ACC title matchup. Clemson rolled them 38-6. They blew them out. Is it a redemption game? I don't think necessarily. I think Clemson's the better team. Give me Clemson. I'm laying the 6.5 points. I think that they take this game by a touchdown. Tony, go ahead, take it.
Don't you? I equate North Carolina to USC. Tremendously talented on offense. The defense sucks. I mean, that's why USC has lost football games. It's not because Caleb Williams stinks and he's not a Heisman caliber quarterback. It's not because they don't have playmakers all over the frickin' field. It's that their defense is so bad, they keep handing them a rotten, they're handing them a pair of deuces when the other team's got a pair of aces,
Right.
And I think North Carolina parallels USC, and that is the detriment to their team. Obviously USC's played a tougher schedule with Notre Dame and Washington and Oregon and this, that, and the other. But I think that really is North Carolina's. I tell you one thing for sure, just to add a bonus play here, I don't have a problem if the weather withstanding. I haven't seen the weather forecast for South Carolina, but this liable to be a hell of a shootout. 58 might be too not enough, because North Carolina is going to give them points, and North Carolina is going to put up points.
I like it. Shifting gears now, Tony, we're going to roll into the NFL side of things, and we've got Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Right now, Cleveland's laying 4 points in this matchup, although this line may have shifted. The total is 36.5. This game will kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern time. You can tune into this on CBS. And both of these teams, I will say, are rolling right now. Both of them are 6-3, and this is an AFC North smashdown. But I was notified earlier, Tony, prior to this matchup, Deshaun Watson was questionable going into this game. Well, I received some news today, and I'm not 100% confirming on this, but I believe Deshaun Watson is out for season. Yes, he is done for the season. So it's going to come down to the hype of this Cleveland defense. Tony, we've talked about it week in, week out, week in, week out. How for real is this defense actually in the NFL? I mean, across the statistical board, they're first across every single stat. But rolling into this game, I think this is a perfect matchup for them, especially against a Pittsburgh team who, yes, they're 6-3 right now, but how good is this Pittsburgh team behind Kenny Pickett? Is this offense legit? Is their defense legit? They're so inconsistent. I'm just not sold on them, and I'm really excited to see what Cleveland's defense kind of takes on the approach against them. Tony, what is your take in this matchup?
The Pittsburgh Steelers, how in the hell are they 6-3?
Right.
Literally, this team is an enigma wrapped in a riddle. I cannot figure it out. You've got the number one defense in the NFL, and you hear a lot about Pittsburgh and TJ Watt and Hayward and all these guys they got. They're ranked 28th in the NFL in allowing yards on defense. And yet somehow their defense wins them games. This line has dropped from Cleveland -4 to Cleveland -1.5. And I actually think Watson's worth more than that. I really do. I think he's worth about 5.5, 6 points to Cleveland in this game. If you look at every analytic, if you look at every metric, all these algorithms, and I look at these things, and at this point in time in the year, it's the eye test to me.
Sure.
And yeah, the eye test was Cleveland looked good last week beating Baltimore. Mm-hmm. That defense, though, allowed a lot of yards and a lot of points. Lamar Jackson helped them win that game. At days in here, this is the NFL, which stands for not for long when you're handicapping it. If you go with the public, give me reluctantly the Steelers +1.5, and you might want to stick them in a teaser. I'm telling you, behind Watson, they just don't have that much. And secondly, Mike Tomlin is figuring out a way to coach this team The biggest liability that Pittsburgh has is Matt Canada as offensive coordinator. I mean, they took him out of the booth after the bye week, and Tomlin made him get on the sideline to act like he's involved with the offense. You know, they've been out-yarded in every game this year, and they find a way to win. They just find a way to win. And I think Cleveland's going to get thrown for a loop here without Watson. I'll take Pittsburgh in this one. Let's go ahead and get to the Arizona on the road at Houston. Houston with the big upset last week over Cincinnati. But was it really an upset?
Right.
If you do not, and last week after this game at 25-1, that's right, 25-1, I put $1,000 down on DeMeco Ryans Coach of the Year. I like my chances. Houston might win their division. This was a team that was left for dead on the side of the road, screwing old Shep. It was over for Houston. We're just going to fumble screw our way through the season, kick the can down the road, use the excuse of a rookie quarterback, a no-name wide receiver core, a pretty good running back. But other than that, this, that, and the other. And Houston is coming out. They're kicking ass and taking names. And not only that, in games that they don't win, they compete. This is a well-coached football team. And they're laying 4.5 at home, total 47.5 against Arizona. And Kyler Murray, I guess we're going to find out, was last week lightning in a bottle for Arizona or not. They're on the road here with Murray, second time around here now. And Arizona coming, and of course Houston. Are they full of themselves? Did they celebrate too long with that big win over Cincy? Or does Ryan have them dialed in and back to business, and Stroud continues to impress?
And that's just the thing, Tony, is I have officially diagonaled myself to listen. CJ Stroud, that is an NFL quarterback, hands down. This guy is handling this offense like a pure veteran. I want to say he's passed for already 16, 17 touchdowns, maybe 2 picks on the season. He's opened up the entire run game. I mean, the way that this team just upset the Bengals, and right, like you said, Tony, was it an upset? I'm not necessarily sure. They played a lot better football than Cincinnati did, as well as their defense looked tremendous. Their defense in the second half coming up with critical pickoffs over Joe Burrow to really change the dynamic of this entire game. The offense, as I spoke, we've got CJ Stroud, and he's finding guys like Dell. I don't even know who Dell is. This guy came out of nowhere. Now he's a star wide receiver. Houston is finally really rolling, and the momentum was with them. The tide is with them, and they are behind DeMeco Ryans, who, as stated, Tony, this is one of the best coaches in the NFL right now. Then you shift gears and you roll over to Arizona. Well, now we've got some spirits lifted. Kyler Murray finally back at that quarterback spot. Well, he just snapped a 6-game losing streak right there, beating Atlanta. Then you've got James Conner. Now he's back at that running back spot. He's an absolute load who blows over defensive lines, which opens up the pass game for Marquise Hollywood Brown. So how do you look at this game? Because we have momentum flying in all over the place. But what you can't get yourself caught in is the trap of hype. When you get caught in the trap of hype, you make emotional decisions. It's great for Arizona that Kyler Murray is back. It's great that Connor's back. And it's great that they finally have some spirits and something to look forward to, because this team might not be as bad as we thought they were now. They finally picked up their second win of the season. They finally snapped that 6-game losing streak. But rolling at this game, there's way too much momentum for me to pick a team in this game. So my play going at this game, because of the momentum, because of the offensive outbreaks, I am rolling with the over in this game at 47.5. That is my play, Tony. Rolling over now to our final game. Last but definitely not least, We have Minnesota at Denver. Denver is laying 2.5 points in this game. The total is 43.5. This game is the Sunday night game that will kick off at 8:20 p.m. Eastern time, and you can watch this on NBC. Denver coming off a nice upset win over the Buffalo Bills. And Tony, we've said it week in, week out, week in, week out. You've said it more than I have. Buffalo kind of sucks. And I think it's kind of getting proven right now. Buffalo is not who they used to be for the past 3-4 years right now. And Minnesota now, winning 5 straight games. And now you've got Joshua Dobbs at that quarterback spot. And I've got to say, last week against the Saints, he looked pretty good. So I can't really fade this Minnesota team right now. And I'm looking at Denver, the way Russell Wilson's playing, the way this offense is playing. Tony, what's your take on this game with Denver laying 2.5 at home against a team who's won 5 straight games?
Well, going back to your previous game with Arizona and Houston, I think Arizona would rather have Dobbs than they would Murray. To be honest with you, Dobbs, good quarterback, smart kid.
I think so too.
I think that if Minnesota continues to win, their head coach and Houston's head coach are going to be 1 and 2 to figure out who's going to be coach of the year in the NFL. That's how good of a coaching job they're doing at Minnesota right now. They've lost Kirk Cousins. They've lost Jefferson. They traded away. They lost Cam Akers. They lost, they traded away Dalvin Cook. And yet here they sit at 6-3. They've done a phenomenal job at Minnesota, and their secondary sucks. You can throw all over them. But number one, what's Denver like to do? Denver likes to run the football. Well, they only allow 98 yards per game, and they're ranked 4th in the NFL in yards per play allowed on the ground. Let's dig further. Denver's defense, dead last in the NFL, yards per game and yards per play. Well, Minnesota's offense is number 9 in the NFL in yards per play. By the way, yeah, Denver beat Buffalo. And as you mentioned, I've been telling anybody that would listen on this show, I've been standing on the street corner at Las Vegas Boulevard, Sahara, butt naked, holding the sign up that says Buffalo sucks. No one's listening to me. I'm telling you, they're an average team. And let me tell you something, with an average quarterback. Allen is giving the ball away like, it's insane. The way and if you don't think, and people, Bills Mafia get mad at me. We get some comments, we got to filter out. You're talking to Buffalo. If you're a 500 ball club, you're average. Period. Argument over. So Denver beat them and got 4 turnovers. Denver beat Kansas City and got 5 turnovers. So when those 2 wins, they beat Kansas City and they beat Buffalo, they got +9 turnovers. They're not going to get a bunch of turnovers here. I think Denver, honestly, is a false favorite. Again, I'm going with the dog. The dogs are barking. Not only the dogs barking, go ahead and sprinkle the money line. Sprinkle the money line a little bit here on Minnesota as well. Give me Minnesota. And if they're not part of a teaser, getting them, what's a value teaser, Tony? A value teaser bet is when you get through 3 key numbers. That would be you're getting through 3, you're getting through 6, and you're getting through 7. You're getting them at +8.5. Maybe take a heavy favorite, say like Dallas, which I'm not willing to lay 10.5 points. Tease them down through 2 key numbers. Get yourself a winner, chicken frickin' dinner. Give me the Vikings in this one. Folks, be sure and get over to DocSports.com. Smash that subscribe button. We appreciate you tuning in. Leave your comments. We will filter out the F-bombs and we can't have any haters, Griff. We can't have haters. We're hitting almost 7 out of 10. Now, my premium plays have suffered the last couple of weeks. We're 100% transparent. That's why we've been around 52 years as a company, because we tell it like it is, win, lose, or draw. We're not 1-800 can't lose company. Call 1-800 can't lose. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Western Union, what's going to be, buddy? We got the lock. Let's do it. Now, no, we're not those guys, but I'll tell you what I am doing. I'm flat betting on Saturday, probably 4 units each right down the board, 3 of them. And I'm going to rip the books a new ass. Then I'm going to turn around on Sunday, one pick only, my NFL game of the year. No hype, no hyperbole, not blowing any smoke up your butt. It's the only 8 unit play I'm going to have all year. I've had this one circled for 3 weeks. Came in where I wanted it to. That's what's going on this weekend. Griff, how about yourself?
Yeah, Tony, I've had a brutal couple weekends regarding my football plays in the past. These past 2 weekends. I will say though, on this Saturday trend, I am rocking an 8-4 run in the past 7 weekends. I want to say 6 or 7 weekends. So I am going to come out with one top play on Saturday. That will be a 5 unit play. I'm going to have 2 plays total on Saturday. One will be a 5 unit. I already have the play keyed out. It's already broken down and sent in. We've already got that done. As well as I'm going to have a small 3 unit play on Saturday. For Sunday, I am not going to have any top plays. I am not happy with how I've been performing in my NFL slate. We're going to turn that around, and I'm going to start that with very low volume this week and pick up some winners to get back on track. So I will have between 1 to 3 games on Sunday. I'm anticipating 2 games. I have 3 eyed out. There's one of them I'm waiting on a line shift for. If I get it, I'm going to capitalize on it. If I don't, we're going to fade it and lay off. There's going to be nothing higher than a 4 unit on Sunday, just so you guys know. Totally transparent and honest with you. It's all good. But Saturday, again, I will be releasing 2 plays, including a 6 unit best bet. Tony?
Well, I know one thing. I talked to Griff yesterday, so I told him what my game of the year was going to be. I know he already ran out and bet it. I know that for. I know that.
Come on, man.
But nonetheless, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. Let's continue the roll here with the nice run and free plays for you on Doc's Gridiron 6-pack. We sure appreciate you tuning in. And again,
absolutely,
we'll post your comments if you want to leave some comments. Tell us what you think, and let's kick some butt, take some names. We'll talk to you next week. Griff?
Absolutely. And just so you guys know, I've noticed in the comment section as of late, if you guys want us to break down particular games, I've noticed some people doing that just last minute. Please send in the comment section all the games that you want broken down, and we'll pick them. We'll select and we'll throw those games out for you guys. This is for you guys more than anything, obviously. These are all free plays, everything like that, although we are drilling 67%. But if you guys have plays that you guys want in particular, please drop them in the comment section, and myself and Tony will check them out, and we'll talk about them. Tony?
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.